All right, let's talk about habits. Specifically, the science behind building habits that actually stick around. We're going to go deep into what's happening inside your brain when you try to make a change, and more importantly, how you can use that science to your advantage. So let's get into it.
You know the drill, right? It's January 1st, you've got your New Year's resolution, you are super motivated, and then boom, a few weeks later, you're right back to your old ways. So what gives? Why is it just so hard to make a good habit a permanent part of your life? Well, here's the good news. It's probably not about your willpower at all. The real reason is hardwired into your brain's basic programming, a system that is obsessed with one thing above all else, being efficient. To really get this, we've got to look at what a habit even is. The best way to think about it is like your brain's own personal autopilot, its little efficiency engine. So from a science perspective, a habit is just an action that you repeat in the same context over and over again until it becomes totally automatic. And the goal is super simple, to free up your brain's valuable mental energy. So instead of having to consciously decide to brush your teeth every morning, your brain just runs the brushing teeth program without you even thinking about it. So how does that happen? How does something go from new to automatic? Well, it follows this predictable pattern that scientists call an asymptotic curve. What that means is, at first, every time you do the thing, it feels a whole lot more automatic. You get these big jumps in progress. But then, over time, that progress starts to level off until you hit this plateau. And that plateau, that's the sweet spot. That's when the habit is officially locked in. Okay, so our brains love these automatic habits. But what happens when we try to change them or fight against them? Well, it turns out there's a price you have to pay, and it explains exactly why resisting an old habit is just so exhausting. That feeling, that mental struggle, it actually has a name: cognitive effort. This is the friction that happens inside your brain when your new conscious goal, say eating a salad for lunch, is in direct conflict with a super ingrained habit, like grabbing a burger. Your autopilot is trying to fly the plane one way, and you're in the cockpit trying to yank the controls in a whole other direction. And this isn't just some vague feeling. It is literally measurable. Scientists use these really clever puzzles, like this two-step task, to force a conflict between the easy, habitual choice and the smarter, goal-driven one. And by doing that, they can actually measure the extra mental juice it costs your brain to override its own autopilot. This all leads us to the million-dollar question, right? If you push through all that cognitive effort and you keep at it, how long does it actually take for a new behavior to become second nature? The answer is probably not what you think. You have definitely heard the myth that it takes 21 days to form a habit. It's everywhere. But a major study from University College London decided to actually put that idea to the test. So what did they find out? On average, the time it took for people to reach that plateau of automaticity was 66 days. Yeah, more than double the old 21-day myth. But, and this is maybe the most important part of the whole thing, 66 days was just the average. The real timeline for building a habit is deeply, deeply personal. It totally depends on you, the habit you're trying to build, and your environment. Just how personal are we talking? Well, that same study found a massive range. For one person, a simple habit became automatic in just 18 days. For someone else, it took 254 days. That's the difference between less than 3 weeks and more than 8 months. But you know what? The study also found something incredibly encouraging. Missing a day here or there, it didn't really derail the whole process. And that takeaway is huge. It means perfection isn't the goal. What actually builds the habit is just being consistent over the long term, not having a perfect, unbroken streak. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get to the now what. How can we actually use all this science? Well, the first big tool is something called if-then planning. Now, the fancy academic name for this is an implementation intention, but all it really means is making a super specific plan for the future. So instead of a vague goal like, I want to exercise more, you give your brain a precise blueprint for when, where, and how you are going to act. And the formula for this is so simple, but it is incredibly powerful. It's just, if this situation happens, then I will perform this action. For example, if my alarm goes off at 7 a.m., then I will immediately put on my running shoes. See? It totally removes the need for any in-the-moment decision-making. The decision is already made. So that's great, but how do you find the perfect situation, the perfect cue for that if-then plan? Well, one of the cleverest ways to do it is with a technique called habit stacking. The whole idea here is to piggyback your new habit onto a behavior that's already completely automatic for you. That old established habit becomes the perfect trigger, the if part of your if-then plan. Look how simple this is. Step 1. Just pick a habit you already do every single day without even thinking about it, like pouring your morning coffee. That's your anchor. Step 2. Stack your new habit right on top of it. So it becomes, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Your coffee habit, which is already on autopilot, now becomes the automatic trigger for your new meditation habit. So let's wrap this up. What are the big things to remember? First, building habits is a science of smart design. It's not a test of your willpower. Second, be patient with yourself. The average is 66 days, but your journey is going to be unique. Third, consistency always beats perfection. Don't let one slip-up make you quit. And finally, use those simple if-then plans to give your brain a crystal clear command to follow. And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Now that you're armed with all this science, what is one small, tiny habit that you can stack onto your existing routine starting tomorrow?